safety. Welcome again, ma'am. And I would like to tell you that uh, before this session yesterday, we asked teachers to have questions related to the session, questions which they feel that they should know the answers for. So, and I asked them to pose those questions just to know that exact, to know the field. So I got a lot of questions, and I think it will be a very interesting session where the
Sure.
teachers will be asking questions directly to you, and can't wait to begin the session now.
All right.
Over to you, completely.
Thank you. That's a wonderful, a long introduction of me. I'm not used to hearing such good, grand things about me during sessions. But thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone, for this opportunity. I think I am extremely happy that I'm able to connect with Sunbeam through this virtual platform, all the educators and administrators of the school. Also I'd like to extend a heartiest gratitude to each one of you for being present here and making that time out or putting in that effort to be here, uh, because we know there's a lot going on around us right now, and we're living in a pandemic. It's a time of uncertainty, difficult time. uh, I'm sure most of us as individuals, as teachers, whatever roles we are living in life, are going through a lot of stress, or somewhere that stress foundation is building up. If prominently not there, we just on the path towards it. So today I'm going to be talking a little about, first initially I'll talk and give you a little bit of content of these things so that you understand, you identify things for yourself, and post that I will open up a questionnaire for you all, wherein you can ask me questions, you can post it, and then I'll sort of help you and answer those for you as much as I can. Before I move on, I'd like to tell you that I like to do my sessions in person, in a physical space, wherein I can connect with you on a one-on-one. We can have conversations from both ends, and it can go on. But right now, because we're moving from a real world to a virtual world, I'm not too sure how much of interactions would I be able to take at once. I'll try and segregate time for it and take it periodically. I'm going to share in a little screen, which would, okay, Akshata, is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible. Perfect.
All right, thanks. Today we're going to be talking a little about reinventing oneself in times of uncertainty, wherein we talk about what can we do, how can we make things work better for us, what are the things that we need to identify to work upon so that things ease out for us. Before we go in, I'd like to set in some housekeeping rules here. Keep your mics on mute so that there's not disturbance while I'm talking. Ensure you have a paper and pen, because we're going to do some reflection task along while I'm talking and taking you through things. You're free to share your answers, your thoughts and feelings in the chat box. That's one way we can keep connecting while I'm talking or delivering a content and not stopping in middle. You can put in anything you want. If you don't want to put it in a chat box which is open to everyone, you can privately chat with me or send a message to Akshata. Akshata is going to be moderating today's session with us. She'll be keeping a check on me with time, with the content that I'm delivering, also ensuring that I don't skip on to the things that you're putting in the chat window. Another thing is, whenever you see a little dialogue box like the one yellow chat picture on the screen, it's time wherein I would expect you to participate more or share your inputs more, because either it would be a reflective question or it would be for me to know whether you're understanding or not. Also, you could store your questions in your parking lot. Parking lot is a space in your mind wherein you keep your questions, and if I'm hoping that I'll be able to answer some of it or most of it during my session. If not, we'll move to the Q&A and discuss them all the way through. The objectives of today's sessions are to talk about what is teacher burnout, how does teacher burnout come in our lives, what are the stages, what are the causes and the impacts of it. Also to look at different strategies and tools to work around it to make you feel better. Also, because like I said, we're living in a time of uncertainty, everything is haywire, we don't know how to manage situations. We are working from home as well as we were working for the home. So to how to maintain a balance between our work and our life. Also, because the scenarios would change from now on and are constantly changing by every passing minute in our country, how do we adapt to change? And by change, I don't mean the environment or the situation, I mean changes that would help you become a better effective teacher in your times to come. All right, before we go on, I'd like you to do a little reflection activity and think about you traveling in a vehicle. It could be a vehicle of any kind, a four-wheeler, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, which has got wheels, of course, because then my metaphor would not work. So if you think about riding, going somewhere, you have a destination in mind, you sit in your vehicle and you are on a journey off. Suddenly in your way, you see that you have a flat tire, okay, or your tire is punctured. You know, what happens when you notice a flat tire, or how do you feel? What happens to the car? Talk about this with me in the chat window. I'm waiting for you to share the responses. What happens when you experience a flat tire? And if you're not comfortable writing things down, Zoom gives us absolutely incredible emoticon options. You can raise your hand here and Akshita is going to monitor in the participant list who's raising the hand, and through that we could take up your response if you're not willing to share on the chat window. So you say it breaks your journey, you feel upset, you search for a mechanic, somebody who could repair your car. First you start feeling tensed, you sort of look for a solution focus and you say that, you know, I might just change it. Okay, someone says there's an unwanted pause, there is certain hurdle in the journey. Absolutely, I think that these are absolutely valid points and things that actually happen. You can't stretch your journey, you get upset or might get late, there could be a delay for you to reach your destination. You look for solutions, you pause in the journey, you feel bad and then look for help around, whatever help you get. You change your plans. Oh yes, that also happens. You sort of have to take a U-turn because you're unable to cope with it. All right. You look for a new option. That's brilliant. I think all of us here are getting to the point of how you feel and what you're going to do. Tell me what happens to the car when there's a flat tire. What happens to the car? Someone says it's all right, it's part of a journey, look for a solution, move on. Okay, somebody says the car goes still, it stays put, there's no movement. It will stay at the same place, it will stop. Okay, does the car stop automatically or do you see some other signs when you see a flat tire? The best possible thing to do is to stop it. Okay, the mileage reduces. Yes, the speed goes off. It wobbles, absolutely. It makes you feel shaky. There's a bumpy ride. You know, there is disbalance. You might feel jerks. I think you all are extremely smart to get those things. And I'm sure you all have felt it because I get brilliant responses in the chat window. Oh, that's absolutely true. All the points that you mentioned to me are actually what happens when a tire goes flat. It makes you difficult to steer your wheel or the mechanism that you're using. It makes the ride bumpy and shaky. You get difficulty steering around. Sometimes it moves in one direction on itself and there's no control that you have. It causes you a wreck or can give you a jerk. Also, like many of you said that, you know, you reach your destination late. there's a delay in what you're wanting to do or where you're wanting to reach. Sort of most of the times makes you feel negative emotions, tensed, upset for the first go, and then you sort of change and cope with the situation and move to positivity and look for solutions. I wanted to use this metaphor to talk to you about what happens to an individual when their well-being or their functioning gets affected by external things or sometimes internal things as well. As a teacher, as an educator, as an administrator working in a school setup, one cannot have their well-being get affected or their development get affected, because then it impacts a greater audience, a bigger other side that you are not able to see. If you're not feeling well, you would not be able to go forward and ensure that people around you are feeling safe or feeling healthy with their well-being. So the first thing, like when we travel and they tell you, or in a situation of crisis, is put your oxygen mask first and then sort of help others. So it's always good to focus on yourself first so that you can cater to a larger, bigger group. I'm going to talk about teacher burnout for a few minutes here, and I want to identify how many of you know what is a teacher burnout. For that, you could raise your hand and I'll be able to see. Okay, if not, I will just tell you what a teacher burnout is. Okay, how many of you identify with teacher stress? Do you as a teacher feel stressed out sometimes? Do you feel that your energy is drained, or you're overthinking about something, or you're a lot worked up? You're unable to manage things for yourself, whether it's your professional or your personal, whether it's your thoughts or your emotions. Do you feel there is some void in you or some challenges that you face? You know your potential as a teacher, you know about what good you do and how do you do all of this, but when you identify that you're not able to do it, what are the factors that make you feel so? I feel some of you are raising hands saying that you do identify what teacher stress is. A teacher burnout is an escalation of teacher stress. All right, when a teacher feels stressed, they feel that they're overloaded with work, they have too many things to cater to, or they have to meet demands of students or parents, or they have to adhere to the administration for things, do the task, comply with, maintain your self development by doing workshops by yourself or by the school. You start feeling exhausted, you start feeling fatigue, you start having a disinterest in things. That's when you get to a level of a teacher burnout. Okay, it feels when a teacher is feeling hopeless, they're feeling that they're not able to do anything. That's what happens to an individual then. Just to give you a little bit of more about teacher stress, there is the first level is stress, then it goes to more stress, then a lot of stress, too much of stress, and then you reach a teacher burnout. So like I said, some of you might be on a pathway to stress or to a pathway of burnout, but you're unable to identify that thing. When you're unable to identify, you're not able to work on it to make yourself feel better. So things go stagnant for you and it starts becoming a personality type for you, which is not what we are looking at for now. I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'd like to just have conversations with you around this. Akshata, is my screen off?
Yeah, we can see you.
All right. if you could identify and talk with me as to why do you feel that you become stressed out, or you become or you might achieve a, a stage of burnout, what are the causes that would make you feel so? If you could just put them down in the chat window or raise your hand, and we can start having conversations like that. Okay, I see somebody writing in the chat window. Okay, when you feel that the expectation is not met, that's when you feel challenged. You feel that it's not helping you out. Okay.
Sudden change in the routine, work completion with deadline, current scenario, that is adapting to technology.
Okay, so adapting to technology or working with the current scenario, that also makes you feel stressed, burnout, because everything has changed right now. We are moving from a situation, we were working regularly, things were right there. Every day we were going to a workplace to work, we had a designated surrounding to work at, but now suddenly everything's changed. We are back at home and we are working from home, like I said, and for the home. Managing two things simultaneously always gets difficult. You have to look at a working space for it. You have to look at how you can multitask and make things better. All right, what else do we have? Because of an unbalanced lifestyle, yes. Because of time management, that's absolutely true. Sudden information comes to complete work within a limited time frame. Okay, adhering to expectations from others, meeting requirements of others, and that too in a set time frame. You're asked to do something. Okay, you've got 2 hours to do it. How do you do it? This causes you a lot of anxiety, makes you feel fatigued, stressed. There are so many things happening at your end, and you are unable to balance it out. And if it happens continuously, it leads out to a teacher burnout. Okay, we have performance failure syndrome also. Oh yes, when we're not able to achieve the targets that you're wanting to do, or you have performance blocks, whether it is in the classroom or in the administrative position, or it is back at a personal level where you might be a husband or a wife. You could be a father, mother, a son, daughter, brother or a sister. Those roles also, when you're not able to fulfill or complete as an individual, then also it leads to a burnout. Having judgment, I think these are most of you all have covered most of the reasons that cause a teacher burnout. That's absolutely there. Also, I feel sometimes when you don't have control over situation, you feel that things are not going as per what you want, or things are not under your influence, or it's come unexpected to you. That's also when you start feeling stressed. Like for now, the situation of pandemic, it's not in our control, and a lot of people out there are stressed. What to do, how to do, everything is out there. Also sometimes cognitive dissonance also makes you stressed. Your values or your beliefs are not in agreement with others. Okay, or you see that someone is playing along with what they're wanting to do, wanting to say, but they're acting out in a different way. That also gives you a feeling of frustration, or a feeling of stress, leads you to a burnout. Like you said, workload, meeting expectation, doing duties, also insufficient recognition. When you're constantly doing your work and people are not, or the audience, which is your students mostly, are unable to recognize the hard work you're putting, that makes you start feeling, why am I doing it? What good is it making? Why should I be doing it then? Also the environment causes you a lot of stress and burnout. I think one more important aspect that I want to cover here is support. If you get support from people, you sort of feel happy and content, and you don't have a burnout. You don't have a point of saturation, a point of hopelessness. because these people constantly charge you up. They make you feel better. They help you do things in a different way maybe you're unable to do. Somebody says sometimes too many activities are under one umbrella. The expectations high, but the time to plan is very less. Oh, that's true. So what can we do for that? You know, these are problems that we see. These are problems that we feel every day in our life. Believe me, I have been working in a school setup from the last 7 years, and I myself, being a psychologist, have experienced burnouts, have experienced stress, that too because of the work that I'm doing. Like all the points that you've mentioned, I feel every bit of it because I've been there, I've done that, I've gone through it. But a good thing was that I was able to identify and develop strategies to cope with it, and I was able to sustain myself, focusing on my well-being, my growth, and my development at the same time. So that's what all of you need to do in the current scenario. I also want to tell you that burnout does not happen in a day. Okay, burnout does not happen similarly to everyone. You know, there are different types of burnout. There could be a burnout wherein you feel frenetic, wherein you sort of wanting to do a lot of things, but it's not coming out of you. You're wanting to create a pattern, do many things, take a lot of activities, ideas, different methodologies, pedagogies in your classroom, but you're unable to do that because you're frustrated. You're feeling unhealthy, you're feeling not happy, you're feeling there's a little bit of hopelessness in you, and you've sort of given up in your situation. There could be a place wherein you feel you're not challenged enough. Your work that you're doing is very easy, it's not challenging for you anymore. You're not liking it per se. There could be one wherein you feel burnout, that you've done so much of work that you don't want to do anything else now. You feel you've given it all. That comes wherein when you've had many years of experience, or that could also happen if you've been teaching the same thing again and again and again. That's when you feel burnout. You feel there is nothing that more that I can do here, or this will only go on like that, not much that you can do here. I want to take a quick check with you. How many of you are here with me and are able to understand? Would anyone like to ask me anything or any questions that they have related to this, and we can address those? You can raise your hand and we can talk. That's absolutely fine.
We have a hand raise. Yeah, we have another hand raise. You can
yes, ma'am.
Go through.
That's Miss. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Kindly share.
Hello, Jai Hind, ma'am.
Jai Hind.
Ma'am, you were just talking about burnout. Yeah. So is burnout we can avoid, or we have to learn how to deal with it? Is it possible that we can avoid that situation should not come to us, or we have to be able to handle it and be prepared that we have to face it and we have to handle it?
Okay. Thank you for your question. I feel burnout, like I said, is a stage that you don't reach in one go. You sort of start developing it step by step. You start feeling a little bit of stress, then more and more. And why do we go from more to more is because we don't handle it at a lower level itself. If we work on it, if we try and identify what's causing us the problem and look for a coping strategy, I'll just tell you a few coping strategies for burnouts. If we start practicing it in a daily basis, or we focus on our well-being, I think we manage it in the first go and we don't reach a level there. But if we've been unable to identify those things and it's been a build-up for us, things constantly been happening and you're unable to deal it sort of piles up in you. And then you realize, oh, I've reached this level. What can I do now? But it's not, if you accept a burnout, it will not let you grow. It will not make you develop or improvise yourself as an individual or as a teacher, and that will impact your classroom, and not just your relationship with children, but relationship with your parents, with your leaders, with your administration. And you will take that stress back home also, wherein when we're talking about work life balance, if we take the stress back at home, it is no work life balance there. We'll constantly think about it, talk about it, there is no end. So once you've identified, look at ways of working on it, eradicating it from your life. It will not happen in a day. It's not something that you can pick out from yourself and leave aside and not pick and just let it go there. You have to work on it. You have to minus things while adding things in your life. That's one strategy that we give for burnouts, is do things that you like to do. Indulge in things, add on things. Don't just subtract. You say that burnout comes to me by working a lot. I would not say stop working, eradicate your work. I would say add on things, put on a to-do list, prioritize what works for you, and then organize yourself, make a plan, and then do things. Maybe you'll be able to be in a better state or deal with the situation in a better way. All right. Do we have
Thank
any?
you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I was able to answer you.
Good afternoon and Jai Hind.
And it was badly needed.
All right. Yes, there was somebody else who was talking.
Okay. Good afternoon and Jai Hind, ma'am. This is Shikha
Jai,
from
good
this side. Ma'am, my question is, how do we identify that we are going into a burnout? How do we identify, and what are the ways to prioritize things for us then?
Okay. Like I said, when you get fever, how do you feel? When you get fever, your body starts feeling warm, you go low on your energy. There would be some symptoms in your body that you see, right? Similarly,
Yes,
for a burnout, you have symptoms. When you start getting mood swings and you start feeling frustrated or not interested in things, that's one symptom for your stress or your burnout. When you don't feel good about the work you're doing. As a teacher, nobody can tell you how your class went or what your relationships are. It's only you who could share and tell how did it go. Was the lesson good today? Was it okay? You would only know because you prepared for it. You know your caliber. You would know, can you do it better next time? So if you don't attain a level of fulfillment, that's when you feel that you're on your path to stress or on your path of burnout. When you get when you're always emotional, or you feel that you're exhausted with expressing yourself or feeling such emotions, or your body feels fatigued, that is another symptom for a burnout. For somebody, it could be not giving time to yourself. That is also a symptom. You say all the time I'm occupied with work, or all the time my mind is full of thoughts of teaching or my classroom or my deadlines. Those are symptoms of your burnout or your stress. Also, for some people, it can generally go physical, wherein you start seeing weight loss or weight gain, body fatigue symptoms. That's all. Constant headaches, back pain. That is a higher level of a stress or a burnout for an individual. Yeah. So these are some symptoms that you can identify burnout or stress with. I hope that gives you the answer, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Jai Hind, ma'am.
Hi. I'll take the last question. I'll give you some coping strategies that can make you work on your stress and burnout. Yes, please.
Jai Hind, ma'am. Rita here.
Yes, Rita, ma'am.
Jai Hind. Ma'am, I would like to generalize this question, keeping myself also in the picture. I hope you will agree that most of us have been brought up in the old school way.
Absolutely.
and suddenly, due to this pandemic, we have to switch to the modern methods. Say, for example, we all know how to use a cell phone, but teaching through a cell phone, that is really difficult. This burnout situation that we all are talking, ma'am, as an individual, as an educated individual, I know that I may be going into that loop of burnout, but then, ma'am, I have no strategies. Actually, practically, I cannot improvise during an online class, and that time I feel very underconfident, because a child may check on me and say that, ma'am, you need to do something like this that will be more helpful, and it's also humiliating. And I tell this very honestly, because now that we are conducting these classes, online classes, it's really denting the confidence as a teacher. Like for example, if I'm not able to work out on a technical glitch, then it is definitely very humiliating and a cause for my burnout. It is definitely a cause.
I understand that. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing. And I think that's a very, very important point and a factor for stress or burnout all across the world right now. Uh, Teachers have, in a day or two, moved from teaching personally to teaching online. Yeah. And there is not just one software that an individual use. Like on a phone, you use WhatsApp and you work around it and you are comfortable with it. But now we've got Zoom, we've got MS Teams, we have to do Google Classrooms, we have to do Facebook Lives. Everything is happening together. Yeah. I understand this is causing you burnout, but I want to ask you a few reflective questions. And it is not to you, ma'am, it is in generic to everybody who's feeling this burnout. Is technology a problem for you, or the support given to you while adjusting or adapting these new means is a problem to you? Okay, if technology is a problem, then mind you that this is what we are moving to right now. If you don't do it now, you'll have to maybe do it in the 10 days, in the coming 10 years of your life, if you're in the teaching world. But right now, we're all moving to adaptability to these things. It's absolutely fine if you're feeling that you're unable to do it. There's no harm saying I don't know, or there's no harm saying I can't do it. It's a good idea if you identify the areas that you need support with, whether it's in technology or while getting new methodologies, or reconstructing your online classroom, or getting in new ideas or modifying your plans. It's okay to ask for help. You say that, I think I'm stuck here, I'm unable to look out of it, can you guide me through it? That's one strategy that you can use. Ask for help. Asking for help makes you a better, a stronger, a brave person. It does not lead you down. It doesn't make you to be looked down at. It makes you to be looked respected. It makes you the other one look at you with respect. A lot of empathy comes in, compassion comes in when you ask for help. Also, all these events that we are in these uncertain times, technology will play a major role right now. When we learn a new skill, maybe like, for example, if I give you anybody who learns cycling, I'm sure most of us have learned cycling here. We did not get it in first go. We had to do it again and again. We had to first practice. We started with a tricycle. Then we had those balance wheels with us. And we moved forward and gradually removed one and then two. And we were able to ride without any support. That happens with life. You have to practice a skill. You have to develop it with time. You have to give it that focused attention. You have to work on developing it in a way that it becomes an asset for you, a strength for you. Also, what if you're facing help in technology, adapting to technology, and it is leading to a stress for you, a burnout for you, I would say identify a technical team for you. Build on people who can support you there. Go to them. Nowadays, just to give you a suggestion, I myself, it's a personal thing, I am not that technology savvy. I fail most of the times with technology, and moreover that technology fails me. In technology test, they say, you can't do it, you just go. That happens. And how I developed the habit of managing Zoom or working on smart boards was to take help from my children, from my students. I asked them, I think today I'm unable to do it, or I feel you are more equipped with it, would you want to help me? That ways the child also feels at a leadership position. They feel that they have the power to support you, they feel kind and inclined towards you, and it reflects in a better classroom relationship. You could try that. You could also, like I said, scaffold what will help you build your professional development or your technological skills. You need to make time for giving this skill. You need to give time to develop this skill, to enhance this skill. Also make it relevant. Don't do things which are not for your use, or if you're learning something, put them in use, because constant use of it makes you understand it better, gives you more confidence to deal with it. Suppose if you're not able to share your screen one day, call your friends, call your students, do a one-on-one and share your screen. Call your team members, share your screen. That ways you will get a hang of doing it. It will build onto your confidence. It will, like we said, we all didn't know how to use WhatsApp first. We were all on the messaging mode. But when WhatsApp came, we started doing it. And till today, I do a lot of mistakes in WhatsApp, whether it's with my typing, my sending audios, my sending pictures, or calling people randomly. It happens. But now, because I'm constantly using it, I have developed it as a skill that I have. Okay, so try working on this. Maybe it will help you work on your burnout. Ma'am, was I able to answer you in some way?
Yes, of course. Most of my problems, in fact, I should say not the problems, they were imageries in my mind which I had, not actually the problems practically that I feel. But yes, definitely you have cleared the cloud to a certain extent. I'll sought help. I'll definitely sought help from people so that I can develop my confidence. And my coordinator definitely works very hard with me on this field. Yeah,
So
I'm
take
thankful
help.
to her.
Identify your support group and see who are these people who will help you out in these times.
Yes, ma'am.
It could be professionally as well as personally. Look for a work buddy that will help you. And this is not for just technology, it's for a general burnout. These coping strategies is for a generic thing. Look for a support group, identify people who will help you out in things, whether it is only to go to them and express them, okay, you know what, I'm feeling this, can you help me out? Or my day was really bad, I did this. Just talking also makes you feel better. Also, just to give in a few more strategies, what is important in a burnout is take care of yourself. Don't have too many high expectations from yourself. Set in realistic things. It's important that you identify things that you want to do first. Make a to-do list, make a list of things that you want to achieve, want to do, both personally and professionally, and then sort of prioritize in them, saying that which ones are the important ones. What is it that you need to do first? Organize it step by step. Maybe that way you will be able to achieve more in a less time. Also, um, when you feel burnout, question yourself. Self-reflective questions also help you, saying that, is this important for me? Is this benefiting me in any way? What will I achieve from it? Why should I be doing it? How can I make myself feel better? You focus on your circle of control or your circle of influence, things that are in your control rather than things outside your control. If somebody likes you or doesn't like you, it's not in your control, it's outside your control. You can't do anything about it. But whether you like somebody or not, that's in your control. If I say marks are not in your control, but delivering content in your class, ensuring that students learn, they develop the skill, that's absolutely in your class. So focus in your control. So focus on things which are in your circle of control rather than outside your control or in the circle of the world. Also, like I said initially, analyze, identify things that you need to work upon, build strategies to work along it. One strategy sometimes in a space of burnout can also be accept, change, and repeat. Accept the situation, then change the situation, and then reflect upon it how you feel. That also helps you. Also, you sometimes, because you have so much of burnout, you need to learn how to say no. Okay. When you feel that your bottle is full and there is not much work that you can do or give to your audience or to your leaders, learn to say no. But then this no should be realistic. This no should be appropriate. You can't just go and say randomly, so say no when you don't have things in your hand to do. Or think about, if on a scale of 1 to 10 you are doing 10 things, would the 11th thing or the 12th thing increase your capacity of doing work, or will it burden you? And then figure out whether you want to say a yes or a no to a situation. And also, when you say a no, you don't have to be aggressive, you don't have to be rude. Be assertive, be mindful of the words that you're using. Use effective communication, have a talk with that person. Why are you saying a no? I think all of these things would help you work along a little to cope up with your burnout. Again, there are n number of strategies that you can find to work with your burnouts. For every individual, they need to try and use the hit and trial method to see what works best for you. Some strategies can work for me and some might not work for Akshita. But you have to identify, create your own bank of resources and strategies, and then work upon it. Okay, I would like to move on to work-life balance. If anybody has any questions for work-life balance, then we can take those right now. You could raise your hand or put it in the chat window. All right, before I go there, I want to give you a little stretch break, because I have a habit of talking a lot. Like, I can talk for hours and hours without stopping. But I don't want you to keep listening to me on the same mode. But I want you to now do a little bit of mindfulness. You could, before we do that, you could stretch yourself a little, feel a little relaxed, stand up, tilt your neck a little, sort of close your eyes, rub your palm, put it on your eyes so you feel better. Also, I want you to do a little body scan for me. I want you to close your eyes, leave everything aside, your phone, everything, sit back, relax on a chair, and concentrate from your head to your toe. Go from one body part, starting from your head. Feel any sensation or any thought, anything that you have in your head. Move once, only given 2 seconds. Move to your eyes, to your face, and see if you feel any sensation there. Go to your shoulders, relax your shoulders. See, how do you feel in your shoulders? Do you feel some strain? Do you feel some fatigue? Go down to your chest and your abdomen and feel, is there any constraint there for you? Also focus on your arms and your hands, your fingers. Go in detail with your fingertips. Do you feel anything there? Make use of your senses internally and see, how do you feel? Move towards your leg and your feet. Identify the feelings that you're feeling there. Go to your toes and see what sensations are there. Once you felt it, I'd like you to rub your palm and come back. All right. I think this body scan mindfulness is extremely beneficial for you when you feel that you don't know go to a situation. You have to do so much in a short time. You are too stretched, fatigued for things, and your body is not relaxed. This makes you feel from your head to toe, where do you need to focus? What is it that is more fatigue? What is it that you need to do for these things? Okay, it's just a mindful exercise for you to use your senses and to identify things that you could do for yourself. Also, not focus at anything outside and only focus on yourself. You know, your mind is not full with too many things, but your mind is full with only one thing, which is identifying different sensations and stimulations in your body. All right, any question for work balance, work-life balance, stressors related to it, anything? Do we have a question, Akshada?
I'm just checking that.
A raise of hand.
Yeah, we have one.
Yes, please go on.
All right, that's gone.
Good afternoon and Jai Hind, ma'am. This is Pragya here.
Hello, Pragya ma'am. Jai Hind. Good afternoon.
Yeah, right, ma'am. I have a question, although I've posted it on your chat box personally, but I would like to ask you as you have come to the point. And the point is like at this if like how to handle it if someone's burnout situation or the reactions has been considered as someone's like a habit of nagging around. So how to deal it?
So first I want to identify who is this someone who identifies it as your personality or your routine thing that you keep nagging, you know, your burnout situations. First, you need to go have a conversation with that person. You know, if it is professional, you go and talk to them and say that, you know, how it's impacting you in your class or how it's impacting you in your work. You know, have a dialogue. Sometimes we feel that it's not, I'm unable to reach out to a person, or the person is not able to understand what I'm saying. Talk with them, explain it to them in ways that they understand. Now again, assertive conversation, positive use of words, having empathy and compassion with you, then you go and talk. Also, monitor yourself, you know, set plans for yourself and see what are the things, you know, whether the situation is true or not. You know, sometimes what happens is unknowingly we start developing that habit, and maybe try and make the other one understand what is the difference between your situation and nagging. You know, also monitor your progress, see how you're getting better, show it to that person, change your mindset, change that person's mindset, let them see what you're doing to work towards making it better. Be open for feedback in a way that it leads you to a feed forward. You know, feedback is for something that you've already done, you know, it's in your past. But feed forward is a feedback or anything, a suggestion, appreciation, advice for you that is for your past, your present, and it can be an action plan for your future. Okay, so you can work on those things. Also, create a little vision for yourself. How can you manage other people's what is important to you? How do you deal with people's reactions, or how do you deal with people's comments? Look for coping strategies for that as well, to work on your burnout, because it will help you identify your own coping strategies to deal with situations. Also, it will boost your morale a little. Also, there are some times wherein you sort of have to ignore things to make yourself feel better. Again, different stages, different situations, different coping strategies. So we can talk on stretch for this later, wherein I can try and understand your stage or anybody's stage for that matter, and give you personalized strategies for it. Ma'am, was I helpful in any way to you?
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a big help.
Thanks.
Ma'am, one more question which I wanted to ask.
Yes, please.
Is that between work-life balance, there are times when it is because we are not able to prioritize our work, because
Yeah.
of which there's this balance which goes off. So basically, I just wanted to know that what what strategies can we use to keep a more balanced work and life balance.
Sure. See, in a general day-to-day situation, everybody would say that, make a routine, have a schedule, organize yourself. All these things are very important. Cut yourself off from your work when you're out of work. But in right now situation, in the current situation, our home is our workplace. There is no leaving the workplace. Yeah, that's a big problem that we as educators are feeling right now and going through. And not just educators, anyone who's employed anywhere working is working from home if the country has not opened their offices. So what is important right now to maintain a balance between your work and your life is assign yourself a specific place at home or in your room which you treat as your workspace. Okay, that particular space, whether it's a table or it's a sofa or it's the bedside or it's anything that you have around you, consider it as your workspace. Put a few books that you use, keep a paper and a pen around you. Now when you are working, work from that space. Assign it as a space wherein you need to go and work from. Also, once you finish with your work, leave that space and do not go to that place till the time you want to do some work. Also, assign time in your daily schedule wherein you work, because work from home right now is such that some people are working throughout the day. Some people are working only in the school timings. Or, also because there's a lot of work that we're doing, our work is multiplied because of this virtual classroom setup. You assign, say, okay, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours in the evening, I have to work to maintain my life or to cope up with my work or to complete my task. Just work for those bit and then shut yourself off. Don't talk about work, don't think about work. Whenever you get a thought about work, sort of divert yourself. Involve yourself in things that make you happy, things that you like to do, whether it's a hobby, it's developing a skill, wanting to learn more, learning new, achieving new academic credentials for yourself, professional development. Do these things. Also, um, to maintain a work-life balance, what is important is that, again, you learn to say no. There are times wherein work sort of intervenes in your personal space and you have to say no to it. There are times when you say no to a work, you say no to people, and you say no to yourself. So you have to identify when to say no to that particular situation of a burnout or for maintaining that work-life balance. Also, like I mentioned before, that if you are unable to balance your life at work and personally, look for a support group. Ask these people to keep you on track, on balance, on how you can do things, what all can you do. Think about your best, the time that you work best, and only work in those times. If your productivity is say 100%, if you identify the best time to work for you, you can do your 80% work and you don't have to work a lot later. You have been a smart person to identify what works for you, finish it off, switch it off, and go to your personal life. Also, don't take work, don't stretch work to your family members. As teachers, we've got so many things to talk about with people back at home. Say how your day went, what your students did to you, or how did it go with them. If there was a parent concern about your leaders, we sort of come back and talk to our family members about it, which does not let us switch off from our work. Somewhere or the other, we keep talking about it and it's in our mind constantly. So we are working for work all the time. and we're not working for ourselves or for our family. So you look out for things that way. Look out for time which is your me time. Leave everything aside. Now when I say leave everything is aside, I also mean cut off all social connections. What happens is, it's a personal thing. I used to talk to my mother post my school in the evening, and I used to keep talking about what happened in the school, sharing things with her. So it constantly came running in my mind again and again, and I was not able to switch off that mode for me. So I then started realizing that I have to do something for myself. I started doodling, I started painting, I invested my time in dancing, things that make me feel better. That's my me time. Also, to maintain a balance in your life, uh, have your personal life different from your professional life. The activities or the people that you work with in your personal life, don't get them in your professional life. And when you do, be professional with them. Don't mix your personal feelings or connections with them. Also, if you're hanging out post your school for a lunch or for coffee or general chit chat, traveling together with your colleague, switch off them. Don't talk about work. Set things for yourself. Say, let's talk about things other than work. If you're catching up as friends, or if you're catching up as colleagues, then that's the only thing you talk about. Also, if you're struggling with things, whether it's to maintain a balance or to deal with things, talk it out. If not with your leaders, if you don't want to identify somebody, look for a person that you trust, somebody that you believe in, and then make things work there. Also, all these strategies, like I said, are too many for a person to do. Identify what works for you. But what is important is you start small and then you grow big. You can't just say, I'll achieve everything and I'll do everything in a day. Start small and go forward.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, please.
This is Sarita Rao, this side. Yes, I just wanted to, I was listening to the conversation and it came to my mind that we talk about me time and out of a scale of 1 to 10, the 11th one, if we want to say no. I'm just concerned that in spite of talking about professionalism and being professionals throughout, when you say no, there is a price. Yeah. It's a hidden cost at times. Yeah. How do we change this in the work scenario and start developing an ecosystem where this can be respected? Because I feel this is in a big way.
I understand, because I've come from a school setup and I understand where you're going when you have to say a no either to your colleagues or to your leaders or even to your students. It sort of can retaliate in some way to you. But sometimes, like I said, identify what is the need for a no. Do you feel that it is absolutely not possible for you to do it without stretching yourself? Okay, you don't have to stress yourself for it. Also, no does not mean two letters N and O. It is not exactly no that you have to go and say to a person. You have to look for ways of how you can have that conversation with that person. You have to make your leader feel that you're going through something. And that's when you develop a genuine rapport with them. When you talk about things, when you share your things, either with your colleagues or with your leader, they should see genuineness in that problem. Or they should see that, actually, this is what you have. Also, take back things with you. If you say you have 10 and you can't take the 11, tell them what 10 things are you doing. Show the work and talk with those 10 things and prove to them that these 10 things are more important to you than the 11th one right now. Also, sometimes saying no is also to change mindsets. Not for your mindset, but the mindset for others also. You have to say a no to yourself also. No, I think I should not be doing this. Or no, I can do this more. I can add on this work as well. You have to change your mindset here as well, saying, how would others feel? Am I going to be stagnant here, or do I want to grow by taking this opportunity? Also change mindsets for people, saying that I can voice it out. I need to tell you how I'm feeling. It's my responsibility. And you as a leader need to understand it. Constantly have conversations like that. It might not happen in one go, because people take time to change and accept and be open for situations, but you have to keep trying. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
anytime. All right, I'd like to close. Any more questions? I'll take one more question because I think we're running out of time.
Jai Hind, ma'am. I want to
Hi.
ask a question.
Yes,
this is
please.
meaning here. Ma'am, what we believe, like as we are living in a society where people are very judgmental, so sometimes these judgment can be the reason of burnout. So how much do I worry about what others think of me or my actions?
Okay, first you identify whether what they're saying is true or not. Okay, it's always good to have a reflection, and it's important to do a self-reflection. That is more important. I'll just answer you, Akshita. If you could just note down the questions, those are coming in the chat, and maybe we address them later through an email to the school. If you could just copy
We
and
more or less have covered questions.
Right. If anything, we've not covered. Okay. So first, like I was saying, I'm so sorry that you identify what people are talking about, or what they're saying for you is true or not for your own self. Don't look for what they're saying. See, if suppose somebody is telling me, okay, I'll say because of the pandemic, I'm eating a lot and I'm getting fat day by day, and I'm gaining weight to a different level. And if people tell me, oh, you've gained so much of weight, you're getting so fat, you need to start exercising, you were so good before, now you need to do something about it. This is something that people are commenting about me. They're passing their judgment. But one, I need to identify it for myself. Is it true? Is it actually the situation? Is it a fact? Or am I giving those signs away to people? Am I actually becoming like that? Or am I dropping hints for them to think of it? Or it's only their perception? And then you identify how much of it can you do, and how much of it can you change, and how can you let it impact you or not impact you. Okay, if it's true and it's working out, and you're okay accepting it, and you're okay accepting people's judgment, you have to close yourself and be okay with it. You say it's their perception, it's their understanding, I'm okay with it. You have to build onto your self mechanism here. Do a lot of self talk, build on your confidence, indulge in self-care. It makes your esteem go high. Also work on your self-efficacy, talking about your abilities of work, what all can you do based on your performances, on your outlook as a teacher. When you build on these things, a lot of it gets affected to the other person, and also to yourself. Once you start thinking on these dimensions, on these parameters, it builds onto a positive space for you, and you not really care about things which are not true. If they are true, then you look at things, and if it's causing you a problem, how can you work on it? How can you make it better for yourself? But if it is no problem for you and it is true, then you let it be. Accept things the way they are for people. Your ideology, your perception, your values may or may not match with the other person, and it is absolutely fine. Every individual is different. Every individual comes with a different mindset, different exposure, a different experience. So the ways of dealing with situations, handling situations, coping, accepting, having resilience for that situation is very different. So identify and accept that for yourself.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Before we close, I am again going to do a little bit of reflection, because I'm a big fan of reflections, and I feel that makes you feel what happened and how it happened, and whether this session worked out for you or not. So, okay, my screen is visible to you. Akshita, is that so?
Yeah.
Okay. There are 3 simple things that I've put here, and I want you to reflect upon, which is, what would you do to maintain a work-life balance? How would you manage your burnout if you are getting some right now, or if you feel you might get it in future? What would be the 2 strategies that would be your takeaway from today's session? And how would you adapt to change? Again, I could only cover adapting to technology, But adapting to change would also cover learning 21st century skills for children. In today's time, it's very, very important. Unlearning to learn also these days. That's also a new thing that we're changing from. So think about what are the things that you could do and start putting it in the chat window for me. Any two that you like, that is your takeaway, and it will help you in the coming future for yourself. You need not please me if you've not learned anything from today's session. That's absolutely fine. For some people, it could just be a revision as well. So go ahead, share your thoughts. Anything other than this also you want to put in the chat window, please feel free to do that. How I wish if we had time, I would have spoken to a lot of you, but I think we're running out of time right now.
Ma'am, we have no time issues. If you want to stretch for another 5 minutes, it's okay.
Ma'am, I have another session.
No, I'm aware that you are already booked for another session, so I'm like kind of not stressing on it.
If any other question that you like me to address, I'm open for it. I can give in 5 minutes. That's not a problem.
I would just like to share on behalf of the teachers and all of us here at Sun City, extend you gratitude. Today being the global, Wellness Day, and talking on this day about self-awareness and, about strategies, how to cope, stress, talk about burnout itself gives us a very good feeling. It is very cathartic. And I'm sure all the teachers would have, as you very candidly said, that I'm open to the fact that if there was no takeaway, a revision, and I'll tell you, revision is so important. Absolutely. In, learning a good lesson. So there were many lessons, but this revision was also very interesting. That's what I would say. Sarita Rao, the Vice Principal, on behalf of Sun City. Once again, big thank you, ma'am. And I'm sure the teachers are ruminating their points and they'll be posting you.
Thank you. I do see a lot of people writing in that there is a method of categorizing tasks into important, very important, urgent, and very urgent. How much do you think is effective instead of saying no? Is that a question, or I think that's a question, and I mostly covered most of it. Saying that how do you categorize it? You see what is more important for you. You see which is the first thing that you want to do right now. As per the urgent needs of the situation around you or for yourself, you categorize it this way. If something, if you don't do it now, will not be happening later, then that is extremely, extremely urgent. But if something that even after you do after 2 to 3 days and still you'll have time to complete it and meet your deadline, then it is important. Yeah. So you sort of segregate what is important and urgent for you as per your own standards. Nobody can tell you what is urgent, what is not, but they can tell you it is important. Okay. You sort of prioritize things for yourself. I see a lot of people writing in that they look forward for support systems and being realistic. They need to indulge in things which make them happy, go for a walk or read books, because that's their self time. They want to do this as a hobby other than the work that they're actually doing. They could do yoga and enriching skills. Absolutely. That's very, very important in self-care. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga, or exercise. Anything, any sort of physical workout that you want to do helps you feel better. It releases your stress in a positive way.
Teacher are interacting.
Okay. Also, if there's anything that you want to connect with me later, on a personal level, whatever, however you want, or in future, I've put in my email address here. You can write into me and I'll get back to you with whatever way is convenient for you. Also, I'd like to thank Sunbeam School for this platform for me and Akshada to come and interact with you and be a part of your well-being daily dose. And I hope that you're going to take some things for your self-care, not from my session, but generally from the world, talking about mental health, talking about well-being, talking about upgrading yourself and adapting to change in these uncertain times. This is the time wherein we can't look for, technical bits. And technical, I don't mean technology, but technical small details. But it is time for us to work on articulating and aligning our core values and beliefs. So work on this time for it rather than spending it, just like that without thinking. And for the future, I'm always there to help you, support you for any kind.
Such a pleasure, ma'am. Such a pleasure, ma'am.
Thank you. So Akshata, I'm going to sign off and we shall connect with you very soon then.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Chat box is continuously blinking.
Chat box is full of observations. I'd like the teachers to stay back. Just 1 minute. Are the teachers there?
Yeah, teachers are there, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We are there.
Teachers,
Yes,
just 2 minutes. We would like to listen about this session. How was the session? What was your takeaway?
It was good, ma'am. It was enriching, as well as there are certain priorities which could be set right after attending this session.
Did it really help?